Hello everyone, I'm TUMENJARGAL and I'm honored to be here today presenting the Asia Pacific Evaluation Association and the Mongolian Evaluation Network. So I'm excited to share the insights from our country and contribute to. So thank you for the opportunity to share our country's experience during this workshop. So we appreciate the platform to exchange insights and contribute to the collective learning process. So I'm pleased to present to you an outline of our discussion on Mongolia's journey towards achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. So as we delve into this topic, we will explore the various aspects of the Mongolia's progress, challenges, and the lessons learned in the context of SDG implementation, monitoring, and evaluation. So to begin that, we will take a look at the background of international reviews in Mongolia. So following this, we will highlight the Mongolia's notable achievements in addressing the SDGs. Next, we will discuss the good practices of MNE and its vital contribution to the SDG in Mongolia. As we reflect on the Mongolia's journey, we will also explore the lessons learned along the way. So in conclusion, we will summarize our findings and discuss the needs and the further actions planned. So I would like to invite you all to join me on this journey as we explore the Mongolia's achievements, challenges, lessons learned, and the pursuit of sustainable development. So the government of Mongolia presented its first voluntary national review report in 2019, Sustainable Development Goals in the country. So first national review has been prepared based on the decisions by the National Committee for Sustainable Development, led by the Prime Minister of Mongolia. Therefore, the VNR was an outcome of multi-stakeholder perspective process. So at the time that the monitoring indicators and the targets for the SDGs have yet to be defined, following the adoption of a long-term development policy in Mongolia. So efforts to define the national SDG indicators and targets were underway, but the further localization and the definition at local levels were necessary, alongside enhancing the performance-based monitoring and strengthening the accountability mechanisms for. So regarding the second national voluntary review on implementation of SDG, it was initiated by the government of Mongolia with the perspective from the not only the government but also the civil society, private sector, research and academic institutions, and human rights institutions and international development organizations in our country. So it's presented for the second time after many discussions. So regarding institutional change, that in 2016, that National Committee on Sustainable Development was established, consisting of multi such as ministries, agencies, UN agencies. However, the committee was dissolved in 2022 and by the government, and its functions were transferred to the newly established Ministry of Economy and Development. So the second review discussed the change in the policy environment and institutional system for the sustainable development of Mongolia, and also the progress of SDG implementation, as well as the impact of epidemics and geopolitical conflicts on the implementation. So as shown here, that Mongolia has made a great efforts to ensure the implementation of the SDGs and has achieved a certain progress. And although Mongolia has made progress at a certain level on 15 goals, there is a need to intensify the implementation of goal of reducing poverty, SDG 1, which is the most important one, I would say. So also the project of the national targets and the indicators of the sustainable development goals have been improved. So to achieve the 2030 target, that 27% of the identified targets need to be sustained, and 54% require immediate acceleration, and 17% demand particular focus. So, based on our experience, that to effectively monitor SDG implementation, it's crucial to correctly identify data sources, select and use the methodology for calculating the values of indicators, and have a good data availability. So while the data availability on SDG indicators has improved over the years, the picture is becoming clearer. There was a still need to increase the availability of quantitative data in Mongolia. So in this section, I will share some good practices of monitoring and evaluation in Mongolia, along with some exciting developments happening in our country regarding the development policies and planning. So those examples highlight our commitment to SDG, and let's explore and any practices for SDGs. So since the VNR, the first VNR in 2019, significant progress has been made in the national development policy and planning system, as shown here. So regarding the institutional change, there are two main bodies. Especially in 2022, the National Committee on Sustainable Development was dissolved, and its functions were transferred to the Ministry of Economy and Development. So Ministry of Economy and Development integrates the SDGs into the national development policy and coordinates its implementation and evaluation. So there's another body, the National Statistics Office, who provides the methodological support for calculating SDG indicators and enhances the data availability. So there are two institutions which is responsible for the SDG implementation and monitoring and evaluation. So at the policy level, that in 2020, our Parliament revised the law on development policy and planning, ensuring that our long-term, medium-term, and the short-term plans all work together smoothly. And we have been carefully analyzing our existing policies to ensure that they align with the sustainable development goals. But it doesn't stop here. We have put in place the clear procedures and the methodologies for developing our development plans and making sure that they are based on solid research and lead to the tangible results. So, for example, the procedure for developing development policy and planning documents was approved by the government resolution in 2022. And to ensure that its implementation in 2023, two different methodologies for developing medium-term annual development plans of provinces, municipalities, and the capital city was approved. Ministry of Economy and Development. So these documents provide the methodologies for developing Mongolia's long, medium, and short-term development policy planning documents with a result-based integrated management and create favorable conditions for adopting and implementing science and research-based policies. So regarding our commitment to the evidence-based decision-making, the government of Mongolia has conducted a policy coherence analysis in cooperation with the UNDP in Mongolia, and it concluded that the SDGs well with the long-term development policy goals and targets, but not their indicators. So only the 80% of the sustainable development goals are included in the national development policy and planning document. So it shows that there is still room for the improvements. So the MNE recognized that the data related to the various indicators of the SDGs, the lifeblood of decision-making for the SDGs. So it enables us to track progress, assess impact, and also they adjust the strategies as needed. So first, that in 2015, NSO Office carried out the first assessment of SDG indicators in Mongolia as part of a project jointly funded by the UNDP and United Nations Environment Program. So since then, the data availability of indicators for monitoring and evaluating SDG implementation has been assessed every year. So it was one of our good practice. Second, regarding the data in Mongolia, that since 2019, SDGs dashboard has been in operation, so providing a vital tool for monitoring and evaluating SDG implementation. So it enhances the information flow, data exchange, also the public access to SDG-related data. However, there are still some challenges, including the inadequate data sources, weak coordination among government agencies, and insufficient understanding of SDG importance and indicators. So MNE helps promote equity and inclusiveness in policies that influences societies. So for promoting the equity and inclusiveness, that Parliament and the Cabinet in cooperation with the United Nations as the first Sustainable Development Goals high-level forum in our country in 2021. So more than 100 organizations, nearly the 200 individuals participated in the event and setting up the pavilions for each 17 goals. According to their activities and taking those who came to this open day event on a journey through the 17 goals. So while preparing for the VNR, the team met with the target groups, especially the vulnerable groups, including the people with disabilities, and also the older people and adolescents and the young people from the both urban and the rural areas. So moreover, the participation of the representatives from the government, civil society, and the private sector, research and human rights institutions, all the development organizations' participation were ensured. So to mitigate the challenges that our country is taking an initiative as well. In 2022, with the funding support from the United Nations Resident Coordinator Office, the roadmap for SDG indicators was developed. So this roadmap provides the recommendations for improving the calculated indicators and the possibility of calculating new and non-calculated indicators. So we have conducted the state assessment. So state assessment also concluded that although the data availability for indicators to assess the SDG implementation is not improving, so due to the lack of coordination between government agencies of the importance of the indicators. So there is a potential to increase the number of calculated indicators in the following years. So in our previous slides, I talked about the things that our country is doing well in achieving its goals for sustainable development. However, in this slide, I want to share our lessons learned from the process of preparing the VNR. So there are a few important things that we need to focus more on until 2030. So firstly, that we need to plan carefully and start checking our progress early and regularly. So this helps us to see where we are doing well and where we might need to improve. So secondly, it's important to have a place where we can share information about what we are doing for sustainable development. So this includes like what the government is doing, as well as successes and lessons learned from everyone involved, like the community groups and the businesses. So we also need to make sure that we are using the best to keep track of how we are doing. So this means making sure we have a good ways to measure our progress towards our goals. And the one big part of this is setting the clear goals for what we want to achieve by 2030 at the local and national level. So this helps us to make a smart decision based on accurate information, and also it also helps us to keep track of how we are doing. So while it's great that we are focusing on making good policies, we also need to make sure that the policies are making a real difference. So we need to check regularly to working and if they are helping us to reach our goals. And then lastly, when we do our next review, our progress, it's important that we look back at the recommendations from our previous reviews. This helps us to keep doing things that work well and to fix things that aren't working as well as they should do. By doing these things that we can make sure that we are on the right track for a better and a more sustainable future for Mongolia. So to achieve 2030 targets of the Sustainable Development Goals, to accelerate the further implementation, we need to improve the monitoring and reporting system at the local and the national level. And also we need to improve quality of assessment in order to ensure the implementation of SDGs in line with the priorities of the medium and short-term development policy in our country. So although Mongolia has made the great efforts to establish a permanent monitoring and evaluation system with the multi-stakeholder participation to ensure the successful implementation of SDGs, it still needs to improvement. We need to report to citizens and the public on progress, monitoring, and evaluation results, as well as the necessity for information conducive to participatory citizen monitoring. So this imperative underscores the vital role of transparency and accountability in our ongoing development efforts, highlighting the urgent in this crucial area. So thank you for all the participants for joining us this exploration of Mongolia's journey towards sustainable development through SDG implementation, monitoring, and evaluation. So your engagement enriches our discussion and contributes to our collective understanding of these crucial topics. Thank you for your attention.